The Florida Treasure Coast Market Update. Stay with me, and today we're going to talk about what prices in Port St. Lucie are actually selling this year.
You better get fired up.
Happy Wednesday, guys. We're here every single Wednesday at 11 o'clock for the Florida Treasure Coast Market Update, where we talk about the market in Port St. Lucie specifically, right? So today, I want to look at everything that's sold so far in the first, 50 days in? It's crazy to think we're already 50 days in. I feel like we just had New Year's Eve. 50 days in, what has been selling and what are those price points that are actually selling? Why do we look at this? We look at this because if you've got a $600,000 home and 90% of the sales are $500,000 and lower, you know that, man, less than 10% of the buyer pool is actually around my price point. That might be a challenge, right? However, you might see that 40% of buyers are at that $500,000 plus price point, which is more than normal. And if you're thinking about putting your $600,000 home in the market soon, it would actually make sense, and that would be a good thing, right? So it gives us a little bit of insight on expectations. So I'm going to pull up here. Let's share screen. Here we go. This is the MLS. So this is a multiple listing service. It is the main hub for all data real estate, right? So this is the local MLS, which really pulls in probably 50% of homes that you're going to see in Vero Beach. It pulls everything from Fort Pierce south. I don't sell a lot of homes south of West Palm Beach, but I really don't feel like even going down that far, I really miss anything. It's got everything in here. And this goes out to what's called an IDX feed to a lot of different sites, right? You're talking like Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, Redfin, eXp Realty, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Remax, you name it. This goes out to it. And now as a buyer, you can go to all those websites and you can get the data that you want, the helpful data that you really need to make a good decision. As a seller, it's a cool tool because now you're able to put it in one place and poof, it's everywhere, which is what you want, right? You're getting eyeballs on everything. So what we're going to look at today, we're going to go Port St. Lucie and we're going to go solds, and we're going to look back to 1/1 of 2025, and we're just going to look at single family homes. Okay, so you can see right up here, we got 377 single family home sales in 2025 in Port St. Lucie. And if you look over here on the right, you can see all of the little blue dots represent a sale. So you can see they're pretty evenly dispersed. All right. So now what we're going to do is, let me write this down. I'm going to take some data here while we're doing this. 377 total sales. Let's come to list. And we're going to put these in order of highest price to lowest price. Look at that. So right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 377, that's a hair over 1%, sold at $1 million or higher. We got one that's 1.03, 1.38, 1.99, and a big dog here at 2.4. Interesting, right? And where are they? Tesoro, Ballantrae, Verano South. That's where the big buck homes are. So now let's keep going. And we'll say, okay, how many went at, say, 750 or higher? Well, you can see right here. 15 out of 377. If I pull up my trusty calculator here, 15 divided by 377, I'm going to guess 4.2. Oh, 3.9, almost 4. 4% are selling at 750 or higher. Still a very small market. All right, so let's come down to 500 grand. 500 grand. Where does it start? Right here. Number 101. So 101, that's about a third, divided by, that's not quite that, 377. What's that? That's going to be 28%. Oh, 26.79%. So 27% sold at $500,000 or more. There's a lot of $500,000 homes in this city. That $500,000-$600,000 range, there are a lot of homes in that price point. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. There are 4 that are $1 million plus, which is, we'll just say 1%. 750 and higher, you were looking at, what did I say, 3%? 4%. I can't remember. I'm going to write 3 or 4. 500,000 plus, we're talking 27%. I got to get that number again. 3.9. So yeah, 4%. So now let's go to the bottom. Oh man, we're going to do this a different way. Otherwise it's going to take forever. We're going to put these in order of descending. No, it should be ascending. Come on, Joe. The brain's not kicking in here. Okay. So descending, we've got some homes down here. 162, 201, 210. How many are up to 300 grand? If you're a buyer, you're looking at 300 grand. How many can we get? 26 of the 37. Okay. So when we look at what that is as a percentage, 26 divided by 37, I'm going to guess 7.5. 7%. So if you are a buyer looking in Port St. Lucie for a single family home and you don't want to go over 300 grand, you're confined to that bottom 7%. And you've got to remember too that some of those were listed at 305, 310, 315, 320. So when you're looking at what's available, no negotiation needed, you might be looking at 4, 5, 6%. Okay. So realize that. Now let's look up to 400 grand. Look, there's a lot of homes up to 400 grand. In the threes is kind of the main, here we go, price point. So 159 divided by 377, that's 42% of homes sold up to $400,000. So minus the 7% that sold up to 300 grand, that means 35% of homes are selling $300,000 to $400,000. I bet you 400,000 to 500,000 is going to be a pretty big percentage too. So from 157 going and going and going. Here we go. 157 to from 279. 279 minus 157. So that's 122 homes divided by 377. That means 32% of homes were between $400,000 to $500,000. That's pretty wild. So when you look at that, I'm writing down these numbers. 35% sold between 300 and 400. 32% sold between 400 and 500. That's 67%, or 2/3 of the market is between 300,000 and 500,000. I honestly thought that'd be a bigger number. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. So one last thing, because I know we've got people who are really saying, hey, how do I get into a home as cheaply as possible? I need to get something. I got to quit renting. I don't want to keep paying down my landlord's mortgage. I want to pay down my mortgage. I want to be building up equity in my home. How do I do it? Let's take a look at what those lower end homes look like. Here we go. 162. What's it look like? This doesn't look bad. I wonder if this is Spanish Lakes. I'm almost positive it is. Yeah. So I think it is. And this is going to be a decent house. Yeah, this is a really nice. I mean, for 162, it's ridiculous, right? But you're in Spanish Lakes and you're probably paying, well, yeah. There it is. $1,000 a month in lot rent. This next one's also there. Let's look at this guy. Okay, so this one, oh, I missed the price, was 210. 210. Hey, you got a dirty driveway. You got garbage cans out front, but honestly, those are aesthetic things that help you as a buyer. Because if you can overlook those things, you can clean that driveway up in an hour with a power washer, and you can just put your garbage cans away. It looks great, right? You probably got an older roof. I can see right here the shades are a little beat up, and something's going on in this window over here, and the screen's off the door and the slider. You can see you've got a lot of mold on this concrete pad. But again, these are all things, these are very, very, very minor. I mean, would you take 50 to 100 grand off for little things like this? Absolutely. That's a lot. There's going to be a lot of painting needed. You can see you're missing a fire alarm up here. You might have to do what's called a trash out, which means you got to physically get all of this stuff out. Maybe not. Maybe they're moving it out. And my concern too, whenever a home looks like this, when it's being shown, what's behind all this stuff? Are the floors chipped up? Are they cracked? Is there something in the wall? That doesn't mean you should or should not buy the home. Here you don't have a fridge, right? You're going to have to get a fridge. But if you got some cash in the bank, let's say you got 30, 40 grand, and you're a handy guy, and you want a home that you can just put some sweat equity into, you could have bought this one for 210, put 40 grand into a fridge and fixing the slider and whatever, cleaning it. And now you've paid a total of 250 for a house that you can probably sell for 325. That's pretty dang awesome. But A, you got to have some cash, and B, you got to be handy. Yeah, I can tell you, I show a lot of homes, and I don't have a lot of normal buyers who are not investors who would buy this house. This would be a challenging sale. Challenging sale. Okay, so let's get out of this one. Let's come up and just take a look at what one $300,000 home looks like. Here, this one's here, exactly 300. You got a 1-car garage. You got a chain link fence backed up by a white vinyl fence. You've got gutters. All right. Okay. Nicely maintained. Is it dated? Sure. But it looks clean. Nice little fan up there. 8-foot ceilings. Great photos. Lots of natural light. Looks really nice. For $300,000. It is refreshing as a realtor to see that there are options now at this price point. I'm not saying this is perfect, and I'm going to get people who are like, oh, I don't want carpet, and I don't want 8-foot ceilings, and I don't want this, and I don't want. I got it, but you got to look at your budget too. Like, be realistic with your budget. What can you afford, and how can you start paying down your mortgage instead of somebody else's so you can start building up equity? If this is the option that's afforded to you, then get it so that you can sell this in 5-10 years, take that equity, and then you can go buy that house that fits what you want right now, right? You got to build your way there. Yeah, that's a cute little house for 300 grand. Let's see what 400 grand gets us. I'm going to have to do a little skipping here. I'm going to have to do a lot of bit of skipping. 400,000. This will be the last one we do. Here we go. I want to see the house. Okay, here we go. We got photos. Okay, so this is on Aventura. So here you get a 2-car garage instead of a 1-car garage. It looks a little bigger. All right, we got a fence. It's a wood fence. Looks a little older, a little beat up. Ooh, nice screen back patio. You got a storage shed out back. Granite countertops. Tile flooring. Here you got the 10-foot ceilings instead of 8-foot ceilings. Okay, that looks like an oversized laundry room. We got wood. It's probably wood. It looks like wood. It could be a vinyl, but I think it's wood. Ooh, I like the fronts on those, on the vanity there. This is 400 grand. And I wasn't looking at square footage, but you're probably getting more square footage too, right? Now you can see you're backed up to a business here. This is probably a 430, 440 house. But you got business right here. You got a busy street right here. You got more business over here, right? But if you're willing to put up with that, you can probably get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 off on price because other buyers won't buy into it. So there's pros and cons to everything. So guys, there you go. There's a quick look at what you're able to get for different price points throughout Port St. Lucie. Again, you can see that 2/3 of buyers so far in 2025 have purchased between $300,000 and $500,000. Only 1% sold for 7 figures or more. Only 4% sold for $750 or more. And 27%, or roughly 1 in 4, is purchasing at $500,000 or more. I can promise you 2-3 years ago, that number was much higher. It's really interesting to see, and I'm not understanding all the data. I pull data every single Monday, and you'll see, let's see if I can pull this up right now. So you can see right here, when I pulled this yesterday, you can see actives from last year, January 1st, were at 1388. Now they're at 2091. Don't pay attention to this. This compares this to the beginning of this year. I want to compare this to the beginning of last year. So when I go 2091, that's how many single family homes are on the market Monday. minus 1388, which is what there were a year ago, divided by 1388, we've got an increase of 50.6%. Let's call it 50%. So for every 100 homes that were on the market, now there's 150. Competition's higher. That's great for buyers, not so great for sellers. Sales, there were 442 last year in a 45-day span. Now there's 339. So when we take 442 minus 339 divided by 442, we've got a 23% decrease in sales. So 50% more inventory with a 23% less sales ratio. That makes for much higher inventory rates, which you can see. Last year, we had 141 days overall inventory in the market, and now we're at double that, 277.6. Right? Up to $500,000 went from 110 days to 230, more than doubled. And 500,000 went from 248 to well over a year, 406 days. Am I sharing this? I don't think I'm sharing this. Son of a gun, you're not seeing all this data. Well, you heard the data. I am going to quick show it. I apologize for that. Let's, oh, maybe you did see it. I don't know. If you didn't, then I'll show it next week. But the data is clear that the market has softened. And if you're a seller, you've got to do the right things to get it sold. You've got to price right. When your realtor says all the comps are 390 to 400, you do not say, okay, let's try it at 410, 415, 420. It's not going to work in this market. You're going to hurt yourself. Because by the time you do drop your price to 400, now it's challenging to get to 400. Why? Because you're market worn. You've been on for 30, 60, 90 days. So now a buyer's saying, we got some leverage. Let's try negotiating. On day 1, day 2, day 3, they don't try that as often because they're scared. Oh my gosh, what if somebody else comes in? That's why pricing right on day 1 matters so much. You've got to have it staged, right? And you don't have to pay somebody $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to do it. If you do, it helps. But if you don't, there's all kinds of websites. If you've got a good realtor, they're going to help you minimize the furniture footprint, maximize the space, get as much light in as possible, clean that sucker, update some of the light bulbs so they're not yellow, they're white. All kinds of great things you can easily do in a weekend at Home Depot for maybe $100, $200, maybe free, to be honest. And it really sets your place apart. As a buyer, do market analyses. What's a market analysis? And you don't have to do it. Your realtor should. When I go list a home, that realtor or that seller is not just saying, I want 450. Let's list it at 450. They're looking at a market analysis that I do where I look at sold comparable homes and I say, okay, this one's a little bit better. It went for 460. This one's a little bit worse. It went for 440. You're right around 450. That's a market analysis. Why do buyers not want that from their realtor? They should. So when you're looking at 450 house and you're coming in, I always say this, and you're coming in at 420, you're like, Joe, can we do 420? I say, why would you do that? What if it's only worth 400? Let's do a market analysis to see if it's worth 400, put in an offer at 400, not 420. And if it's worth 450, we're way under, right? Not that you can't come in at 420, but be aware you're probably putting yourself in a tough position here negotiation wise, but be educated, I guess is my point. But you've got the ability now, if you use that market analysis to see home prices are coming down, let me share this analysis with that listing agent and that seller. And now our offer that's low doesn't look so bad. It may not be a full price offer, but it's a full value offer. And you can pitch that with data if you've got a realtor who will do that work. So guys, there you go. There's a couple quick tips. Guys, this is the Florida Treasure Coast Market Update. We check out the Port St. Lucie market every single Wednesday at 11 o'clock. If you've got something specific, a strata of the market, maybe it's waterfront, maybe it's vacant land, maybe it's new construction that you want me to dig into, just let me know, and we will do it in future videos. Thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of your week.